Setting intentions is like gathering the seeds of hope for what you want your life to look, sound, and feel like. You consciously gather them all up and decide it's time to plant them. Then you put your trust in something greater than yourself to contribute to making them happen, no matter what that might look like. Welcome to Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy. I'm your host, Kathy Stricker. I'm a state patrol wife, mama to 3 lively kiddos, a yoga teacher, certified NLP coach, and an energetic rhythms expert. As an energetic rhythms coach, I help action-taking women use their body's rhythms and the moon's cycle to optimize productivity and avoid burnout without letting their desire to remain in control alter their focus. And this podcast is all about doing just that and perhaps a bit more so that you can create your own path to health, harmony, and happiness. So come along with me and may this episode serve as a nudge to discover tools that could help you on your path towards more intentional living. Enjoy the show. Hey friends, welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 52 of the Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy podcast. Today we are talking all about intention setting. So this is the start of a 4-part series on the phases of your energetic rhythms that we will be working through in November. Each week, I'll give you a little more insight into what happens in each phase and how you can use that particular phase to help you feel at ease and flow with life, even when unexpected things come up. Now, it's no coincidence that this episode is actually coming out the week of a new moon. We're going to dig into why intention setting aligns with the new moon, as well as how it aligns with your body's rhythms. But using your energetic rhythms means that you're using your body's rhythms and the moon's cycle to get stuff done so that you're flowing with life instead of feeling like you're constantly living on the verge of burnout or cycling between burnout and feeling comfortable in life. It's how you mesh those two things, so the moon's cycle and your body's rhythms together to flow with life. But before you can do that, you have to understand each phase of the energetic rhythm cycle and what it involves so that you can start to notice where those phases are in your own life and recognize the things that you need to be doing or maybe even not doing during each particular phase. So the first phase of your energetic rhythm cycle is to set intentions and to rest, to take the time to align with the inward energy that you might be feeling or that generally comes during this phase of the energetic rhythm cycle, and to just begin to take it easy for a little while, give your body that time to replenish and begin to gather those seeds of intention so that you can put them out into the world, right? So that you can begin planting them and begin to do the work so that they can begin growing. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what intentions are, why you would want to set intentions in the first place, the best time to set intentions, and what intention setting is not. And then we'll talk about how to go about setting intentions. And really, there's a couple different ways that I do this in my life and ways that I have guided people through. It can either be a quick process or it can be more of a ritualistic process where you are taking the time to make it more meaningful and impactful. And I'll kind of go over both of those with you in this conversation today. Let's first talk about what intentions are. I've had this question in the past from people that they're confused and don't even know exactly what intentions are when I'm talking about them. So I want to break it down for you so that you completely understand. What are intentions? Intentions are a choice to move consciously towards doing something or creating a particular way of being in life. It's choosing how to approach or live out something, right? It's not strict goals to adhere to. And if you don't reach them, you feel like a failure. It's not that at all, right? You're not setting these specific SMART goals. There is a place for that. But with intentions, It's not that. And it's not items to check off your list to accomplish for the month. You can certainly set those goals, like I said, based on your intentions, but it's setting intention specifically is not about creating a to-do list for yourself. And if you're listening to this, you likely appreciate and like those to-do lists. I like them. I like to have that satisfaction of checking things off and feeling like things are done. There is a place for that, but setting intentions is not specifically doing that in itself, right? It's that choice to move consciously towards doing something or towards creating a particular way of being in life. It's about choosing how to approach or live out something. So it's like setting this idea into motion of how you want your life to look, of how you want to be moving through life. So as you've heard me say before, there are 4 phases of your energetic rhythm cycle, and really actually any cycle, quite honestly. I define the 4 phases of your energetic rhythms as setting intentions and resting, making a plan and starting to take action. That's step number 2. Number 3 is taking intentional action and releasing something out into the world. And then step 4 is observing, reflecting, and celebrating what has happened over the past cycle, and then starting all over again, starting that process all over again. I talk about this a little bit more in episode 39 of this podcast. So you can head back to that and listen to that if you haven't heard. But setting intentions is the first phase of the energetic rhythm cycle, and it's the initial step to take to begin to use your body's rhythms and the moon's cycle to live in flow with your time, energy, and focus, so that when unexpected things do come up, as you know, they always will and they always do, you have something to come back to remind you how you want to be approaching life or living in that season of your life. Really, intentions are to help you stay focused on what really matters in your life. So let's use this as an example. Say you're tired of feeling like you're living on the verge of burnout. You're running in a million different directions. You're feeling like your mind is scattered, but you're stuck. You feel stuck where you are because you just don't quite know what action to take to get unstuck from the situation that you're in. You have some tools, and you know that those tools have helped ground you and center you, but it's often hard to find the time or motivation to do them because everything else seems like more of a priority, right? I hear this a lot with students of yoga. Yes, I know how to practice yoga, or yes, I have my yoga sequence, but I'm just not doing it. Yes, I know how to do some of those breathing practices, but I forget to do them, or I'm just not doing them. And it just feels like I don't have time to stick them into my schedule, or everybody else needs something from me. So I have to do all of those other things first, because those other things seem to impact other people. They impact your kids, your spouse, your clients, your boss, your coworkers. The list goes on, right? Does this sound familiar to you? I have been here. I've been in this place in my life before, and I made the conscious choice to move out of that place in my life. I didn't want to be pleasing everybody else, just for pleasing everybody else, but I wanted to be content in my own self and content in how I'm moving through life, right? And to do that, I first have to connect with myself. To do that, you first have to connect with yourself and create the space so that you don't feel scattered, so that you don't feel like you're running in a million directions, even when you are running in a million directions. Because let's face it, that's just what happens in life. We commit to things. We have other people in our lives, and we get to consciously choose what we put our energy into. And if you have kids, especially, and you want them to be involved in things, you consciously are putting your intentions on supporting your kids in those ventures. So it's likely that you are going to be running around and doing all the things to support these other people in your life. But that doesn't mean that you have to stop supporting yourself. And that doesn't mean that you have to give up on yourself in order to do that. There are other tools and resources. You can use the people around you. Oh, that's a whole nother episode. We're not going to talk about that. I'm getting off track here with this, but I know that you've been here. I know that you've been in this space where you feel scattered. You feel like maybe even you feel like your time is not your own. You take some of the steps to feel centered and grounded, but you aren't quite there yet with making yourself that full priority, with knowing exactly, without a doubt, what you're going to do so that you feel like you're flowing with life, flowing through life, even when those unexpected things come up, or even when the expected things come up that just make life full, right? They make life full. It's kind of like when you're feeling this way, when you're feeling this kind of scattered way, or like you're going against the flow, it's kind of like you're in a kayak or a boat that's constantly paddling against the current, away from the impending waterfall that's up ahead, but you're not making much progress and it feels really heavy. You just want to feel like you're flowing with life instead of against it. You want to be able to go around the waterfall, get to the bottom where the water is smooth, and then you can maybe even float a bit without doing much work, right? That's what you want to be having in life. That's what you want to be experiencing. And setting intentions is one of the first steps to doing just that, right? It is the it's you creating the space to be intentional, to check in with yourself, to find your rhythm, and to allow yourself to recognize where you are and where you want to be instead, then deciding to live in a way that aligns with that intention. So setting the intentions, first step. And quite honestly, intentions can be used for anything in life, anything you want to call more of your awareness to. It doesn't just have to be living in flow with your life. That's just an example. It can really be for anything. It can be with connecting with your family. It could be to be more playful. So maybe that intention is for connection, and that connection leads to you realizing that it's connection not only with others and enriching those relationships, but it's also connection with yourself and making yourself that priority. So that's kind of the background, or the definition, the bulk of what intentions are, and why you would set intentions. Now let's talk about when to set intentions. Now, you can really set intentions at any time, but there are times when setting intentions is actually working with your energy to give you the best possible outcome when you do set them, right? So when are those times? Well, one of them is the new moon, and that's why this episode is coming out with the week of the new moon. And quite honestly, the new moon is the visible reminder to the world that we are indeed cyclical beings, and that everything follows this pattern of birth, growth, releasing, and death before being reborn again, right? Birth and death, life and death, then rebirth, right? It's all following that cyclical pattern. The other great time to set intentions when you're looking at it from a larger perspective is when you start your menstrual cycle, or at the start of the menstrual cycle, which is another visible reminder that we are indeed cyclical beings and have the ability to create life or shed what's no longer serving or what's no longer needed each month. Honestly, it's a good practice to set intentions every day, in my opinion. We just have these visible reminders on a monthly scale to do them for a larger time period than each day. But when you begin to set intentions, you might also invite the opportunity to set intentions daily. It's just a way of aligning with what you know you need to do for the day and what your inner guidance is really wanting to do, so that you can have a focused approach to the day. For instance, if you know you have a really busy schedule for the day, but your inner guidance is telling you that it really just wants to rest and to be still and to spend some time inward, how do you align those two qualities that maybe seem opposing, right? Then maybe it looks like pausing before each commitment that you have on your calendar for 1 to 3 minutes of deep breathing, or even taking a quick 5 to 10 minute rest in the car or a comfy chair, or even a restroom at work in which you close your eyes and just breathe, to ground yourself. Those are easy ways to invite rest into your day without really having to take up too much time and not impacting the rest of your schedule, right? Or perhaps it's just walking or even driving slower to things that you need to do for the day. I know that sounds kind of silly, but when you communicate with your body that you want to move slower by physically doing that, by physically walking slower, by physically driving slower, it communicates that message of rest and that message of taking it easy on yourself. There's always ways to insert your intention into whatever it is that is a must on your schedule, even when it seems impossible. Trust me, 1 to 2 minutes throughout the day helps a whole lot more than not at all. So how do you realize, or how do you discover what your intentions are for the day then? Well, you start out at the beginning of the day, whenever it feels right, whenever it feels comfortable in your day, but it's just a way to have a focused approach to the day, right? So that you can align with what your body feels like it needs versus what your calendar or your schedule is telling. So you can do this first thing in the morning by simply taking a few deep breaths to drop into the present moment, and then just asking yourself, what is it that I need most today? The first thing that comes to mind is your first intention. Quite honestly, that's your subconscious or your unconscious mind speaking to you. It's what you really need. Even if it seems wild and crazy and way out there, that's the first thing that you need. Then you just ask yourself, and what else? To get the second and third intentions for the day. So I usually encourage people to set 1 to 3 intentions for the day, no more than that. We don't need to overwhelm, right? Think simplicity here. And maybe it's like I said, maybe it's just one intention, and maybe you just know that with all your being, that one intention is what's going to serve you today. So those intentions can then guide how you set up the rest of your day, even if you've got a full schedule of things that have to be done. So you can set intentions rather at the start of your day and consider your day as a whole one energetic rhythm cycle, right? Your whole day could be looked at as an energetic rhythm cycle where you start in the morning with phase 1 and you set intentions. Or you can set intentions at the start of the week. So maybe looking at the beginning of the week and see how that also follows the energetic rhythm cycle. When you want to set intentions, when you begin planning to do the work, when you begin taking action, putting yourself out there, and then how you wrap up the week as well. Those are kind of micro or mini cycles when you set intentions, when you look at your energetic rhythm cycle rather on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. Then there's these macro cycles that would be things like aligning with your energetic rhythms as it occurs on a monthly basis, or maybe even a quarterly basis, or maybe even an annual basis, right? Maybe even you have a chunk of years that you can go back and reflect on and look at. What were the years where things were expanding? What were the years where things were contracting and moving inward? It's just an interesting concept. So there's these energetic rhythm cycles can be plugged into nearly every area of your life on a large scale or on a small scale. But it definitely helps to set intentions on larger scales of quarterly and annually. But for our purposes today, we're just going to talk through setting intentions on a monthly time frame. And there's a couple things to consider when doing this, right? So I've talked you through how to set intentions for your daily purposes or your daily practice, and that can help you begin to look at the energetic rhythm cycle on a daily. But now we're going to focus on monthly and what that looks like, because that one is one of the easiest to begin to align with, because the moon and your body cycle relatively similarly. So when you set intentions monthly, you're going to consider your body's rhythms as they relate to your menstrual cycle, ladies, and you're also going to consider the lunar cycle. This is for everyone else who doesn't have a menstrual cycle or who may be taking hormonal birth control. Let's start with the moon today, since there's a new moon this week, as I've mentioned. By the time you hear this, it will be in the past, but if you listen on the day that this comes out, so if you're listening on Thursday, it will still be within that 3-day time frame for using new moon energy to benefit your intentions. And if you listen after, oh well, as I said before, you can set intentions whenever the mood strikes and use the moon when it works out, right? Using the moon can be an incredible way to begin to work with the energy of the universe and the felt energy around you to begin to manifest or create the best possible outcome for whatever it is you want more of in life. Now, just because you're using the moon to help you set intentions, it does not in any way mean that you are worshiping the moon. It simply means that you are aligning with nature's rhythm to help you use your energy more effectively. Right? The moon is that constant visible reminder that we can see every month that helps us connect to the fact that everything in life has a cycle, has a rhythm. And that's nature, friends. That is simply nature. It's the reminder that everything goes from darkness to light and back to darkness, from birth to resurrection. And the need to rest and reflect inward is very much a part of that cycle. It's a part of all cycles. And often, if you are a person who is a do-it-all person and likes to be actively involved and likes to do all the things, you likely forget that rest and this quiet time, this downtime, is a crucial part of your success, is a crucial part of you optimizing your productivity. We do this practice at the new moon because that's what the new moon is doing as well. It's hiding in the shadow of the earth. And we here on earth are not even able to see the moon for a day or two, depending on when it goes dark. To get a little bit sciencey on you, the moon is between the sun and the earth, and we see the dark side of the moon that's facing the earth. So the side that is reflecting light is the side that is facing the sun. Now that all changes when it goes to a full moon, but we'll talk about that another time. So since the moon does in fact play a role with the energy that we feel, again, there is more on that in episode 39 of this podcast, I believe, where I talk about kind of the moon's role and how we feel that energy. I talk about our energetic rhythms as a whole. But when the moon is in this new moon phase, we might also feel that pull to tune inward, to rest, and to be more still when the time comes for the moon to go dark each month. That's just how it is. It's a time to reflect on the past and also a time to start thinking about how you want to move into the upcoming month ahead. During this time, we might have a heightened sensitivity to our intuition and our inner guidance, which is why it can definitely be an ideal time to set intentions. You are more aware of what your true nature is leading you towards, quite honestly. And an even stronger connection to setting intentions, in my opinion, is to use your body's rhythms. So I believe that the body is the messenger that tells you when to take action and when to rest. So naturally, I believe that using your own rhythms over the moon's is ideal, but that's not always the case, right? Like that can't always happen. And I told you that before. When you don't have that monthly cycle, then you've got to use the moon. And that's a powerful, powerful thing to be able to track with and to be able to go with. And you can track all of this. Remember, tracking your energetic rhythms is also part of this step one of your energetic rhythms cycle, is to not only set intentions, but also to begin tracking them. And you can do that with the daily rhythms tracker. I will put a link here in the show notes. You can go out there, print yours off, begin to use it, begin to get to know where the moon is, where you are in your cycle, and then set some intentions around that. So what do I mean by all of this using your body's rhythms and using the moon cycle? Well, just as the start of the lunar cycle is the new moon, the start of your body's cycle as a woman is the start of your period or menstruation. And you know from previous episodes that both the lunar cycle and your body's cycle can average a similar number of days, right? The lunar cycle is somewhere around 29 and a half days, and a common or average menstrual cycle is around 28 days. Again, that's average. You could go longer, you could go shorter than that. But that doesn't always mean that the two are going to align, right? It doesn't mean that the moon is always going to align with your menstrual cycle and that your menstrual cycle is going to start around the new moon. It might sometimes, but definitely not always. That in itself is a whole separate episode. But for now, you just need to know that they might align and they might not. And if they don't, then I recommend using your menstrual cycle to set intentions. And then at the new moon, go back and revisit the intentions that you've set. Your body is a stronger barometer of your felt experience in this life. And when you tune into it, it might very well align with the moon's energy naturally so that they are cycling together, or it might not. But in my personal experience, I know that, and my clients' experience, because I can definitely attest to that when you start paying attention to these things, when you start paying attention to both energetic bodies, yourself and the lunar energy, this magical thing happens where they start to align, they start to work together. Then maybe they align, not exactly, maybe they align in opposing forces, maybe they align together, but some way or another, you realize that alignment, and it's beautiful. So use your menstrual cycle or your body's rhythms to set intentions if you aren't taking hormonal birth control and if you still have a regular cycle. If you're going through menopause or you're in perimenopause and your cycles are irregular, use the moon, use the moon, use the moon. Now, let's skip ahead. Let's go on to how to set intentions, right? If you have been in any sort of workshop with me or have been on one of the new moon circles that I have led in the past, then you kind of have an idea about how to do this, right? You definitely are more aware of that. But for those of you who haven't been involved in those circles or been with me in a workshop, then here's how it goes. Once you've determined if you're going to use the moon or your body's cycle, I recommend setting intentions within the first 3 days of whichever cycle it is that you're using, so that when the energy starts growing again, you can begin to make plans and start taking small actions towards your intentions. Remember that those first 3 days of the cycle are often a little more low energy. So allow yourself for that rest phase. Allow for that rest phase to be in your presence, to be in your awareness, and give yourself grace without shoulding on yourself, right? Allow yourself rest and your intentions will come to you when they need to. Life has a way of bringing things right in front of you that you know you need to work on when they keep coming back into your life. That's one of the things that you can use as a kind of a marker. Oh, this keeps showing up in my life. Maybe I need to pay attention to it, right? That's a great way to gather what your intentions could be for the upcoming cycle. So the next thing to do then is to create a sacred space to be mindful and to set intentions. Now, I have a video that talks more about this, and I'll link to it in the show notes, but it's all about creating space to set intentions, and that's in the Energetic Rhythms for Intentional Living Facebook community. Find the link in the show notes. Now, this sacred space does not look like kids in chaos running around in the background. Absolutely not. Give yourself a little quiet time, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes to center or ground yourself, then allow the intentions to come to you that you need most in your life at that time. Similar to how I mentioned intention setting earlier in the episode, but allow for that space for yourself. Just steal away 5 or 10 minutes, right? So that there's not a lot of activity going on behind you when you do this. And that's what I mean by creating a sacred space, meaning creating a space that can have intention with it. And if you want to know more about how I do my own personal intention setting rituals, then head on over to the Energetic Rhythms for Intentional Living community and you can watch that video. Again, link in the show notes. The other thing that I then recommend using or doing is having either a journal with you or one of the intention setting meditation worksheets that I have available. I have this worksheet available that I use with clients and myself, and it helps to set intentions and reflect, basically. If you want a copy of that, I've got a link in the show notes that you can go to download that worksheet. Or it's at KarenYogaWellness.com/intentions. Or like I said, you can just use a notebook and use a journal that you can refer back to. So you want to keep these intentions someplace where you can use them throughout your cycle. That's kind of the goal so that you can stay focused, right? The worksheet has you set up 3 intentions, then gives you space to come up with some SMART goals. See, I said there was a place for goal setting, and here it is. The worksheet guides you through this. It asks you to maybe put down some specific steps that you can use to begin to formulate a plan to work towards the intentions that you set, so that you have this plan of action, right? Then once you set the intentions, the other key thing is to release attachment to the outcome. Put it in God's hands and trust that whatever happens is aligned with that intention, even if what happens seems so far out and not even related to your intention. It's likely that it is still aligned with your intention. Trust that by you putting your thoughts and desires out into the universe will align, even if it means redirecting you, even if it means something coming in front of you and saying, nope, that's not the direction you need to go in right now. Go in this direction instead. So keep that in mind. Just by putting it out there, it allows for the space for the universe to align. So remember that setting intentions is just phase 1 of the energetic rhythm cycle. You do it so that you have a clear vision of what you're working towards. So you're not just floating through life or moving through life on autopilot. It absolutely does not mean that these intentions are going to happen overnight or even within the upcoming month. As I just got done saying, you might actually put them out there and then something comes up that shows you that's not really the direction you need to be going in. Happen overnight, or they might happen within that upcoming month, but they might not. More importantly, it means that you are simply beginning to take a mindful approach to work towards a change that you want in your life. You are choosing to live in a different way, and you're being intentional about it. You're not just letting life happen to you and function as you would on autopilot. So whether you want to move more, be more playful, or just start feeling more at ease with your time, energy, and focus, setting intentions to do so is the first step. Right? Setting that intention to do whatever it is you want more of in your life, or maybe what you want less of in your life, is the first step. And when you use your energetic rhythms, your body's rhythms, or the moon's cycle, or both, you're using your energy to work for you rather than against you. Plain and simple. Okay, friends. Wow, this episode was much longer than I anticipated it being. Hopefully you stayed with me through it. If you did, wonderful. It's time to go out and set those intentions. Even if you're listening to this and it's not around a new moon, just start. Follow along with us over the next 3 weeks and see how you can begin to put your intentions into action. See how you can begin to call in what it is you want more of in your life because of the intentions that you set. If you liked what you heard on today's episode, I would love it if you shared this out. Take a screenshot of the podcast of the episode and share it on Instagram or Facebook stories and tag Cairn Yoga Wellness or C. Stricker in the post. And if you're not on social media, then head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a rating or review. I would gratefully appreciate that as well. Next week, we will be talking about beginning to take action, making a plan, and what that looks like in the second phase of your energetic rhythm cycle. Until then, I'm Kathy Stricker, and you've been listening to Health, Harmony, and Happiness with Kathy. Cheers to cultivating your own version of health, harmony, and happiness in your life.